I'll be fine. Well, good morning. Thank you for joining us today for our first annual Mission and Ministry Festival. We've got, hopefully everybody online is able to log into it. YouTube should be working great. Facebook, we had some issues, but I think it's fine. So hopefully we will, everything will go smoothly. It'll be great. It'll be fantastic. So we are going to actually begin this morning by joining together and singing a hymn that fits in well with our theme today. Hymn number 915, Today Your Mercy Calls Us.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this wonderful day that you've given us. This day in particular, where we join together to talk about the wonderful blessings that you've provided for us this past year, the way we have taken advantage of opportunities to minister to others, to reach out to those here and beyond. As we join together also to discuss what this next year might look like, what we might want to do, how we might want to serve you and serve this community. We ask that you open our hearts and minds to your word, that we are receptive to your leading, and that all the decisions we make and the plans that we make are pleasing to you and for the benefit of those who gathered here and those beyond these walls. So we lift this time up to you in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. Well, this is supposed to be our second annual Mission and Ministry Festival. We were just beginning to plan this thing around, I think, last February or March. And the original idea for a theme for the festival was, "We are Ascension Lutheran Church." had a whole thing planned out and how we were going to break it out. What does it mean to be Ascension? What does it mean to be Lutheran? What does it mean to be a church? It was great. And the reason for that was because we just finished this major overhaul of our bylaws and setting up this brand new church governance structure. And so in the place of all these different committees that we had, and we had a bunch of different committees, we now had a smaller body who would delegate responsibility out. And so the idea was we'd have fewer meetings for people to attend, kind of decrease the barrier for people to be able to jump in and get involved. So kind of a drastic way of a change in doing things from how we were. And so with any big change, of course, there's a lot of trepidation and a certain amount of uncertainty on how this would even work. Because we had a way of doing things. And this was an entirely new way. What if something fell through the cracks? We heard that a lot. What if we weren't able to find somebody to take care of something that we want to have happen? A great deal of our identity as a congregation was wrapped up in the things that we were doing and how we did them, how we went about them. So that's why I came up with this fantastic idea. It would have been great. We are Ascension Lutheran Church, to focus on who we are as a church, as the people of God in this place. And this was great, one of the main messages for the festival was, don't worry, in 2020 we'll still be able to do all those things that we've always done. Yeah. Did not go according to plan. So here we are. A year later, everything has changed. Everything around us, everything in the world, everything is different. And so we're coming together to be like, well, now what do we do? How do we do? Well, okay, but you know what? Yes, everything's changed. But so what? God hasn't changed. His grace, His mercy, His steadfast love and care for us has not changed. Our standing before Him as His beloved children through the shed blood of Christ hasn't changed. And our call to be joined together and receive the blessings of His gospel, our call to love and serve those around us, our call to be a light shining in the darkness has not changed. And so God has given us today to live out these callings. Now is the day to see the opportunities before us, to be God's people, to bring the gospel message to everyone around us. And that has truly been one of the unexpected benefits of this past year. Learning to focus on today, this moment, what happens to be right in front of us right now. Being thankful that God has given us this moment. Seeing how God can use us right now. Opening our eyes to the people right in front of us, looking for ways that we can reach out to the people around us in this moment. And so our theme for this first Mission and Ministry Festival is taken from 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 2. For he says, in a favorable time I listened to you, and in a day of salvation I have helped you. Behold, now is the favorable time. Behold, now is the day of salvation. Right now is the favorable time. Today is the day of salvation. We've been reminded of this over and over and over again this past year. How we have seen so starkly how nobody knows what tomorrow will bring. There are no guarantees for tomorrow. Because God hasn't promised us tomorrow. He's promised us eternity, yes. But He's promised us today, right now. He's poured out His abundant blessings on us today. He's given us today to be His children. Today to live and delight in His glory. Today to take hold of the blessings He's delivered and to share them with all those around us. And so part of this day is we're going to share with you some of the amazing ways that God has truly been working through Ascension this past year. How we have had to adapt to focus on today, right now, what's in front of us. And in reflecting on the unexpected ways that God has blessed our ministry here, we're going to discuss how we can be prepared for our ministry today. How we will be equipped to bring God's mercy and love every today that we have. Every day that God so graciously grants us. So that's the theme. Now is the day. This moment is truly God's gift to us. So let us rejoice and be glad in it. But let us also be prepared to share that joy and gladness with others every day. Amen. All right. So I will be manning the the slideshow or the screens for us. We'll have the phone number. You guys don't need to pay attention to this. You guys here. For those who are watching online, we'll have a phone number put up on the screen. So if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, you want to throw out an idea, whatever, please text that number and let me know what that is, and then we'll announce it in here. And as we go through any questions that you guys might have here, just make sure we, raise your hand. We'll get either a mic to you, or we'll repeat the question so everybody can hear you properly. But yeah. So, without further ado, I hand this over to Kenda. Do you want this up here? Okay.
Okay. All right, there we go. All right, so I am Kenda Boltman, and I'm a member at large of the Mission and Ministry Directors. I've kind of been nominated the chairman of the board, so that's why you get to see me instead of one of the other members. And I have prepared a PowerPoint presentation to look back at last year and see what we have done. I think we may need this light off, is that right? Better? Okay. All right, so I prepared a photo album from, it says 2020, but we are going to continue on to the present day, so it'll be just a little bit more than 2020. Okay? Oh, there's my first oops. I used the wrong Bible verse. Okay, so 2020 begins. It was another year, just like any other year, and everything was running smoothly. We had our Sunday services followed by our wonderful coffee fellowship. We had Bible studies and Sunday school. Men and women's venues were operating as normal. Women of Ascension had some meetings. MMD was starting to collect bids to replace our failing air conditioning system. And we had a special voters meeting scheduled for March 22nd to approve or disapprove that. And then, whoa, little did we know what havoc this little virus would wreak on the world. And yet, God's work continued at Ascension with amazing results, and we're going to see those. A lockdown was announced, and our awesome pastor did not miss a beat. Our first online service was posted on March 18th. Thankfully, we had these new bylaws, so we were able to do some things that not everyone could do, and we were allowed to hold meetings using any technology available to us. So, On March 20th, we had our first online voters meeting. The question was, I authorized the MMD to accept the bid from Anderson for $38,297 for replacing the air conditioning with funds on hand. Yes or no? Great success. The answer was yes. And as you can see, we had our beautiful air conditioners. Then Pastor began his daily devotion on March 26th. Once again, online. And Easter was different. We were watching from home, but that didn't negate the message that he is risen. Hallelujah. And then we had Pastor Sean's awesome Bible study. I don't know if any of you have been watching it, but it is awesome. And we have covered several topics already. And right now we're on Isaiah. That's probably going to last a little while. And then we were looking forward to our first annual Mission and Ministry Festival, but darn it, it was canceled. And we had our voters meeting, but it was also held online on June 22nd. Then we started having Pastor Kroll's Bible study online. We've covered the screw tape letters, and we are now in a study of Luke and the Acts of the Apostles. On June 28th, we resumed our online or our in-person services, but we were also putting the service online because not everybody felt comfortable coming back to church. But those of us who did, it looked a little different. The pews are blocked off. We're all wearing masks. We had our hand sanitizer and our lines for social distancing, and of course, no coffee. Yeah. And it's been up and down this year. We did our first in-person service, and then the end of August, we did our first live stream. Up until then, Pastor was using a camcorder and recording things and putting it all together, and it was quite a process. And then in November, we got a new camera, and it allowed for panning and zooming, and we were able to live stream with a more professional look without having to go through the process that we were doing before. And then, oh dear, COVID happened again, big time, so we had to suspend our in-person services again, and we didn't resume those then until the 10th of January of this year. But in between all of that, we had a visual faith workshop. It was attended as opposed to an online event. And I happened to miss it. I was out of town, but I understand everyone had a good time who was there. So we're very thankful for that. And in November, we started our very first Zoom prayer meeting. Those are on Friday nights, about half an hour. And that happened at about the time we had to suspend in-person services again. We had 3 for Christmas. We had 3 services on Christmas Eve, and the last one was live streamed. And we helped 3 students from MSU and their families have a very happy Christmas. And once again, our technology came roaring through because since we weren't meeting here at the church, we had to put our lists for the giving tree online. But it worked, and we were able to collect the gifts we needed and get those delivered. We had confirmation this year. Haven't had that for a while. We had 4 confirmands, and I think they had a very nice confirmation. Easter, yay! Over a year since the pandemic started, but we were able to celebrate together. We had fellowship for the first time, coffee and donuts, whatever we had left. We had an egg hunt for the kids, and we had brunch boxes to take home since we weren't able to have breakfast. And now we're getting back to normal, whatever normal is now. We've been having Bells of Ascension. We've been rehearsing and playing in church. The Women of Ascension have had a couple of meetings already. We quit wearing masks in Pastor Kroll's class several weeks ago, and we finally get to present our first annual Mission and Ministry Festival. And then there was the blessing of babies this year. We had Lydia in December. Yay! And then in January we had Teddy. And then just a disclaimer here, that's not Leo. I didn't get a picture of him, so that's an imposter. And his birthday is actually in February, not March. And then we had more babies. We had Emily, and we had Evan, both of them here in May. And of course, with babies come quilts. And we made 11 quilts this year between the quilts we gave to babies and the quilts we gave to adults. So it was a busy year for the quilters. And that's the end of the PowerPoint because, of course, we're at our Mission and Ministry Festival. Now, there's one thing that I didn't put in there. There we go. And that is this number, 516. Anybody have an idea what that means? Number of days what? No, not quite. No ideas? Guess how many online events we had before the pandemic started? Pastor says there were 3 videos out there. I don't know. I didn't find them. But this is the number, as of today, of online videos from our church. So as you can see, we are reaching people. It was a blessing that we had to advance our technology so that we could reach all of us during the pandemic. But in doing so, we've reached a whole lot more people. Because if you go to our videos, you'll see, like Pastor Kroll's Bible study. There are more people, even when we weren't meeting in person, than would normally be there. And when we meet in person, there's almost twice as many another time what come in person that watch online. The same way with our services. We have more people watching and hearing the Word of God than we did before, which is a real blessing. And that's our look back. Now we're going to look forward a little bit. And we are going to have, well, we're still kind of looking back, because first we have the treasurer's report and a properties report, and then we'll start looking forward. So I'm going to turn it over to Jim, and he's going to give us our treasurer's report.
Ooh, not enough coffee yet. Okay, hopefully everybody got a copy of the treasurer's report that was out there. It's a single sheet, front and back. This is not sort of the typical treasurer's report. Usually I give something out that's a little more detailed, but we said since this isn't an actual business meeting, we didn't want to go into a ton of detail for this time, but I just wanted to give you an update about where we are. And interestingly, where we stand right now, we've been rather blessed this year. It has been, and I had this discussion a little bit in MMD, I'm trying to get away from words like good and bad to describe how we're doing, because as long as we're here, we're blessed, we're taken care of. God has been providing what we need. I point out on here for 2021, we're actually at a surplus position through April, so that's 10 months of the year. 2 left to go. Always stuff coming up. Actually, I think we point out, we've talked about that furnace down there that needs to be replaced. So that's a $3,500 give or take item. So that's still to come, possibly before the end of the year. But we're in an okay spot. You've probably heard some of the word coming through the news. Some churches have not done well during this pandemic, sort of out of sight, out of mind, as people have not shown up. They've also not given. Our members have all been very faithful, and I want to thank you for that. With the online options, even when we weren't here, people still were generous and were still giving. So that's been a good thing. On the report, I want to point out, since the question was asked just before the meeting here, you notice the cash balance had gone down there. In case any of you have forgotten our fond memories from this time last year, that was the air conditioning expense, so that's why it's down about 20 some odd thousand by the time all is said and done. Yes, I know everybody looks at that number and goes, what'd you do, Jim? No, paid for the air conditioning. That's what we did. That's why we're all sitting here comfortably today. So also, the other thing you may not remember, yours is on the back, mine is on this lovely colored sheet. This is the actual profit and loss statement. I share this with the MMD every month. If you recall, I had restructured it a little. Once again, all these wonderful plans we had put together before everything got shut down, but I had restructured it a little to put our ministry opportunities lining up at the top. So as we have various goals and missions for the church and life enrichment, community enrichment, personal growth, kind of tried to tag the various categories there. So, the top you can think about as our missions, where we're going and what we're doing. The bottom is kind of the I would have called it property, plant, and equipment when I was working. It's sort of the internal costs of running the church, just in case anybody needed a reminder about how to read this statement and how to look at it. So this surplus we had this year really came from 2 main areas. That we did not spend as much during the year in the mission outreach area. That's not to say we didn't spend, but we just did not spend as much as we had budgeted. What we did spend, we spent, as Kenda had pointed out, on upgrading a lot of the online technology, basically getting our message out online. So that's where the spending in that category went. We also had a very kind winter. I always get in there and budget for a decent amount of snow plowing to take place, and for some reason it didn't really materialize this year. So we came in pretty favorable to budget there. We didn't wind up spending close, unless Fran tells me there's a whole bunch of bills out there somewhere we haven't paid, but I'm pretty sure we caught up, so good. So anyway, as far as the process goes, I can certainly take any questions if anybody has any specific questions on what is here. But I will be supplying, in case you're wondering about the process here, I will be supplying a budget for the voters meeting. I had put something together. The purpose of this festival was for us to come together and talk about where we want to go in the next year, and based on that discussion, to put together some idea of money, whether it's shifting categories, just making sure we put the money in the right spots. If we're saying we want to do it, that's where we're going to invest. So I guess that's first. Any questions on anything in the financial report? I know it's very exciting for all of you sitting here looking at it. All eyes are glazed, all heads are nodding slightly. Alrighty, we will talk about the properties report very quickly, which is not out there, but Kenda asked me to kind of remind everybody some of the stuff that we've gone through. We talked about the air conditioning, the snow plowing. The hand sanitizer stands, when we were all about ready to die, remember we ordered those hand sanitizers early and right away, and it took them a little while to get here, but it wasn't cheap, but necessary. And I think in this brave new world, we all pass by a hand sanitizer stand and at least stick our hand under it. So they are here to stay. We had not had our initial properties cleanup last year, but we did have the properties clean up this year, so that was good. And I think everybody's kind of shaking off the cobwebs and starting to get out and feel like we can do anything. I don't know about you guys, but our house has never looked better. Our yard has never looked better because we have to look at it all the time. So now that we're there, things are like, oh, that's wrong. We need to fix that. So same thing around here. Now that we're all here, I'm sure we're all looking around going, ooh, why don't we fix that? That being said, sign-up sheets are still available outside if you like to mow the lawn, or if you want to just deal with any problem areas you happen to see around there, feel free to sign up. Other good improvements. The refrigerator died. Fortunately, none of us were here for it to be a total crisis, but we took care of it quickly. The kitchen cart was donated, a new kitchen cart. The copier, I don't know how many of you knew about the copier. If you'd ever been in here working with it, you knew what a holy terror it was. It finally was ready to give up the ghost, and the copier repairman, who loves us, had another copier, a newer copier, set aside for us and said, hey, just wait. I got this for you, it's fixed up. And so as soon as the old one, and we said we're done with it, he brought in the new one. I forgot about this price, $900 for a new office copier. When I looked them up online, they were running $1,500 to $1,800, so we certainly got a good deal on that, and it was fairly low copies, so low use, and nice that it's not jamming up every other page anymore. We talked about the electronics. We went from the old camcorder to the new pan and scan camera up there so that everybody can look equally bad online now. It's nice high definition. Still some things we probably need to talk about and some other areas to work on, so keep that in mind. I mean, we've upgraded well. We've still probably got a few areas we can think about. The door sensors, now the door alarms can go off every time you come in and out, and we have the automatic door alarms now on that door and the front door. Part of that was paid for, or will be paid for, Pastor, through a grant. Pastor, as soon as we send in the receipts. Pastor? Okay, just checking. Just making sure that's happening. They had offered, what was it, CEF? I think it offered, or yeah, CEF had a security grant, and so we decided to take advantage of that and get the doors upgraded so that Debbie could be a little more secure and not have to come out of the office to check some of these other doors. The chapel furnace blower has died. Very sad. So that's what we're currently working on. I think we got the estimate to replace it. It's not a lot, but it's another expense. What is coming up? Lansing Matinee Musicale ceased the first Wednesday in the spring of 2020, has not been back. However, probably for the fall they will be coming back. Summer's kind of their quiet time anyway. I think they break, so they will be coming back. We've gotten numerous requests to use the sanctuary and the piano again for various recitals and educational opportunities. So keep in mind, and I think there's a sign-up sheet out there for that, because we do need some folks to come and participate and just help with those events. I really should have read the second page before I came up here, because I'm reading it now. Cry room. Do I want to get into the wish list? You can cover the wish list. Very good, because I'm trying to make it up as I go along. Are there any questions upon anything I said, or do you just want me to go sit down so we can keep moving? Sit down it is. Thank you very much.
All right, so that is our look back, and it's where we are now. The purpose of the meeting is to look forward now, and, I forgot a page. Nathan, did I leave that page down there with the colors? Okay, so we're going to show you now the mission and ministry plan that we put together for this past year. And obviously, there's a whole bunch of things we did not do, but this is where we were. And we're not going to kick ourselves for not doing things we couldn't do. But a lot of these things are going to be coming back. We'll be having Easter breakfast, an egg hunt. I assume that a lot of our social events will stay, the church picnic, the harvest dinner. We've started after service coffee already. Coming on down, these are the new things we had added. We wanted to work more on the photo board, and we had suggested a cradle roll and prayer partners, which did not happen. And going on to personal growth, we had Sunday worship, our ushers, which we're not disbanding what we had done, but we realized that people's circumstances have changed at this point. So that's why the call went out for more ushers, because we need to know who wants to continue, who doesn't, who wants to be included now. Altar Guild, the altar flowers has started again. We'll have our Advent services, our Lent services. Sunday school will start again. I don't know about men's Saturday Bible study. I don't know how the men are feeling about that. I didn't mention Jim's Monday small group Bible study, but they met through this past year by Zoom. I think they had an advantage. They'd already had an opportunity to work through Zoom before Heather showed up in person. Our Wednesday online Bible study, the Thursday afternoon Bible study, choir. We haven't been cleared for them to sing yet, so Bells of Ascension is kind of taking their place at this point. And we did manage to get our visual faith ministry workshop in. Then we have our community enrichment. We're going to have, can you scroll to the next part down? There we go. Which one? That's right, and I was completely unaware of that until just like maybe a week ago. But the youth group has been meeting online. I think it's Sunday afternoons, is that right? So that's a good thing too that our technology is doing for us. Our community enrichment, we participate in the soup kitchen. I did reach out to them this past week, and they are doing kind of a situation where people come and fix their own little lunch and take it with them. They said that they are considering when they can get back to serving meals as normal, and so we will be hearing from them at some point. The giving tree we did online. We had to cancel trunk or treat, and we talked about establishing a small group to research other outreach needs in the community, which we did not do. I mean, we could have had a committee, but I don't know how many people they could have reached during the pandemic. So that kind of got put on hold too. And we did start recycling the paper. That's why we have the recycle bin out there for you to put your bulletin in it on Sundays. And we kept up our regular maintenance, of course, and we did not really have use of the building by outside groups. Yes, driver's training. I think they may have even kind of taken a break too for a while, but yes, they are still out there. A board pastor is on. Pastor, are they still meeting here?
Yes, we've had, I'm actually on the board for the Pregnancy Services of Greater Lansing Crisis Pregnancy Center, and since they have a smaller building, we offered up our space for them to meet. So yeah, we've been meeting here for a monthly meeting for a while now.
Right. Most of the time since the pandemic started, they've been having their meetings here so that they could social distance more adequately. And we are just now starting to get requests for use for recitals and things like that. So that's what our plan was. Some things happened, some things didn't. And I think what we're going to do at this point is go from there. Nathan's going to pull up a blank page. And I think as opposed to separating things out by category, we're just going to take ideas, and I want you to realize no idea is too big or too small to put forth, okay? Now here's the thing. We take all of these ideas. That doesn't mean we will be doing all of these things. The mission and ministry directors will meet, and we will put together another plan like this one for the coming year and a budget, as Jim said. And in June, we will have a voters meeting where we can approve this plan. And hopefully, we'll actually be able to work towards completing these goals. That's the purpose of the MMD, is to look at this plan and make sure it's happening, that we're getting things accomplished. So, ideas. Mary.
Oh, geez. You scared me.
You remember, we have people listening from home.
Well, now they heard me go, oh! Yeah. So one thing that I was just talking about as I came this morning is I would like to make the gym, how would I say it? Make it a pickleball court, but we got to have someone come in and mark the lines. Pickleball is pretty popular now, and I think it'd be kind of fun to have, be able to play pickleball inside if we want, because it's kind of hard to get courts. And
Now, if I'm correct on this, I kind of watched it a little bit. It's kind of a almost like tennis, but on a smaller court. Is that
Yes,
correct?
and I don't want to say it's for old people, Ellen, but you don't have to run around like you do for tennis. You have to be in pretty good shape to play tennis, but I can play pickleball.
Okay.
I'm not real good, but I can play.
Okay.
So it would be, I think, a fun thing to do.
Okay.
And the other thing that maybe this is out of line, now I have this microphone, someone better grab it pretty fast. I might be talking forever. The other thing is just to let you know that Women of Ascension, and Rebecca has been helping me with this. She asked me to do a LWML virtual walk for the LWML. And so June 19, it'll be in the bulletin, but I need money, just not a lot. You don't have to give me a lot, just a little bit. My daughters and I, and anyone who wants to join us, will be meeting at the church, and we'll be walking approximately 5 miles. And all the proceeds, you don't donate per mile, you donate just for us to walk. We'll go to LWML, and Rebecca is going to the conference, and we'll take the money for LWML that we raised. And it's a virtual walk, so anybody can do it at home if you want, or you can meet us and go with us also. So
Okay.
that will be
All
one.
right. Now, on the pickleball court, I have something to add to that, and that is that on the regular maintenance that Carolyn submitted, she was saying that she would like to have the floor in the activity room, the gym, professionally cleaned before the fall. So obviously, these two things would kind of go together. All right, other suggestions? Have one over here.
Okay, I have two things, and they both cost money, so I'm not, we're just making a list right now, we're not prioritizing.
We are definitely just making a list.
But there's two things I've kind of noticed. Well, one is not just a my idea thing, but there's been discussion about the cry room and bringing it more up to date, because some of the furniture in there it's dated looking, it's kind of uncomfortable, it's not great to sit in. Most of it was old when I was breastfeeding Lizzie here, right? Like, you know, it's been here forever. So like and Women of Ascension has had some discussion about maybe supporting some of that work. And you would have to ask Rebecca the details of that, but I think that's one area we could think about, especially as we're having more younger families and little babies, is improving that space. The other is, I think we might want to think about putting on our wish list at some point our landscaping in the front. We have a lot of bushes that are very overgrown, probably need some professional attention, but there might also be some work that we could do ourselves. And trying to think about like making a plan for that, which to me would probably be a mix of some having a professional come in and tear things out and take things down, but maybe us doing some of the work of the planting, which could also be fun, what we're able to physically do without injuring ourselves, because some of it's kind of big, you know. But,
Right,
yeah.
right. Okay, and both of those kind of tie in once again with the maintenance report. One of her things on the wish list was one-way glass in the 2 center panes in the cry room. Right now, if you open those curtains, everybody can see in to see what the mommies and the little ones are doing in there. And she also had landscaping down on her list. Same thing, removal of dead things. And sometimes landscaping just gets old and you need to take out things and plant new stuff so it looks fresh and new.
The landscaping, basically we need donations for the shrubs to go in. we might want a professional landscaper to design it. But as far as planning, tearing out the old stuff, putting in the new stuff, that's something we can do.
Right.
That doesn't
Unless
take a
it's
professional.
probably, if there are any trees that need to come down, we would have to hire that out. But yeah.
Pam mentioned too, there's poison ivy,
Oh,
isn't there?
well, let's
I don't
talk to
know.
Paul about that later.
Okay.
Connie has a suggestion here.
My suggestion is making a courtyard out there where the poison ivy happens to be some. And possibly making seats around the trees and making it, so if we go outside to have any kind of function, we've got that nice area to do it in and enjoy ourselves.
Right?
We actually have a comment on that one is there's the Schraders are actually right now going to be putting a request to the MMD about kind of working on the courtyard because they're looking for like a memorial, kind of a sculpture, like a small art sculpture thing, just kind of a, I don't know what size, but as a memorial for Roy. And basically kind of having that in the courtyard, and I think part of that would then be kind of sprucing it up a bit. Yeah, but the same exact same thing. So
I
that's
would
pretty
also
much-
like to remind people that are watching at home, if you have any ideas, feel free to use the phone number and put those in.
Yes, the phone number is on there, and it's tied to my phone, so
Okay.
so far so good.
The real poison ivy I found out there was inside that little fenced-in area where the air conditioner condensers are. Those condensers were totally covered with poison ivy vines when I went in
okay.
in the fall. And so I wanted to blast the leaves out, but they were under the leaves of the poison ivy. So,
Okay.
yeah, that's,
All right.
don't go in there.
Okay.
This is your last one.
Okay, Mary, and then we're,
Oh, I'm sorry.
and then
So-
we'll go to Claire.
Okay, so Sunday school. I thought of this on the way in this morning. It involves Paul, of course, I'm sorry. That to have a Sunday school kickoff that we normally have. And of course, we have to do a lot more discussion. Now we have more kids, how we're going to divide it. We're probably going to need more Sunday school teachers, blah, blah, blah. But I think it would be kind of fun since we have so many new young kids. The kids love to build. They love to make like stools or birdhouses or whatever. And I thought if we did a kickoff with like breakfast or whatever like we do, or a lunch, we could also have a woodworking, like the stool thing we did years ago. And we could involve, that could also be kind of a service project for the older kids. They could help the little kids build their own stools and maybe paint them the next week or something. So I would like to, not that we have to do oh, sorry, I don't think I need to talk in the mic. I have a loud enough voice, but anyway. Beware. So I highly suggest we do another kickoff, and if the woodworking thing would work out, I think that would be something I would like to include if possible.
Okay, so kick off. We got that on.
I would love to have like a couples retreat or evening or something where we could do like a marriagey based, dinner or something with worship. So the real trick will be convincing my husband to attend. So, but I would love to do something like that. So,
Okay.
yes.
It is a good idea.
Absolutely. All right, stop laughing. There you go.
Okay, so I have two things that'll cost money. But along with fixing up the cry room, there's also no speaker in the actual nursery. So putting like a tablet or a screen or something that the service can be streamed to so that it's less isolating back there. The actual nursery doesn't
Nursery.
have
Okay.
a speaker. There's a speaker in the cry room, but not in the nursery. And if there's one in the hallway, but you can't hear it. It's just kind of like wah, wah, wah in the background while you're dealing with kids.
Part of, we do have the speakers like in the narthex and whatnot, but honestly, those are getting very flaky. They cut in and out all the time, which put on their audio updates. We have a bunch of
You know
those.
what, I would even suggest maybe going with a small TV or monitor so that we could just stream it in there. Okay. All right, so we'll look at that.
Just because if we're talking about, the moms are talking about turning the cry room into a quieter space and then having the nursery as like the loud kids need to play space, but as a parent who has a child who never stops moving, it'd be nice to have a speaker or something.
Right. Okay.
But then, okay, the other thing is, we kind of talked about this for a second in one of our MMD meetings, but creating like an Uber fund or something, because none of the local buses run to the church on Sundays. So to get from campus to here, there's no way to do it other than getting like a taxi or an Uber, or maybe just having someone on the website whose number you can like call and get a ride. So we kind of brought that up, but we need to talk about it in more detail.
We have been, in our family at least, kind of having fun brainstorming about like youth activities and things we could do with youth, because we can do things, like we can do things in person. So just as a general thing, like putting energy and attention into kind of rebuilding youth stuff would be awesome.
Okay. Pastor's getting his exercise this morning.
Lord knows I need it.
This is kind of on the maintenance side of it, but I'd love to see our metal chairs that we use for all of our activities repainted. Carolyn and I had talked about it about a year ago, and I was going to just get some of the Krylon paint for metal and just try to paint one to see if we could bring them up to par. She had mentioned a lot of the newer chairs are not sturdy enough for, I mean, maybe we could find some, but those chairs seem to be sturdy, but they just look horrible. And if we're going to open the church for some other activities, I think we should have some decent looking activity chairs. I mean, as well as for our own funerals, dinners, that type of thing.
Okay, so the suggestion, I'm not sure everybody at home could hear that, was that we look at spiffing up the metal chairs we have. And you're exactly right. Nothing is made the way it used to be. So the chairs are really good chairs. We should look at doing what we can do. Oh, I heard a ding.
All right, yes, we have a comment here. Painting chairs is a good youth service project.
Aha, there we go.
This is somewhat of a selfish suggestion, but speaking
never.
speaking of youth, as the youth are getting older and there's more and more babies showing up, me having two of the young children in this church, I would love to have maybe like a once a month or something, like Saturday, drop your kids off, go get whatever you need to get done for like a couple hours, like a babysitting service. And, good for the youth, good for me. So, and other mothers who are going crazy, stuck at home with their kids. So,
Okay.
either or. Yeah, either we could do it a fundraiser, or yeah, if they need hours. Yeah, or like a donation base, like with a suggested donation kind of thing. Yeah, that would be great.
I have a suggestion. It has to do with the technology, and that is that we need more directional microphones with a bigger spread. When we've listened to the bells playing, you can't hear the bells, you just hear the piano. I assume that when we start back with choir, we're going to have the same thing, that for people listening at home, they won't hear much of the choir. So we do need more microphones there.
A comment on that is absolutely, yes. And just to realize that the sound system that we have here was and is great for services here. And the way that things have always been. But now with our new needs and whatnot, our audio is very difficult to work with, especially since we don't have the capability to split out audio feeds. So like when somebody says you need to make the organ louder, I can't do that because all of the audio feeds into one single input into our streaming setup. So that will be something we do need to work on. Thankfully, actually, John just showed me that this year the Michigan Church Extension Fund is having their annual grant process, and it is going to be for technology, for use in services and whatnot. So we are going to be looking into signing up for another $2,500 grant to cover all those kinds of things. So yeah, that's definitely something we need that could use a lot of work. Yeah. For anybody at home, it might help bring in other people to use the facility. Yeah, right now, I mean, it's our audio is functional. We can record. It's not perfect. We can kind of rig it to work satisfactorily, but we definitely can. There's a lot of room for improvement.
The other thing that we had talked about in MMD is upgrading the Wi-Fi in the chapel, and then the streaming abilities in the chapel, thinking that maybe the Coptics would like to use it, and they apparently were trying to get online in there, and that isn't a possibility at all. So,
Right. Other ideas? Carolyn has one other one on her list, and that is that the wooden sign is starting to deteriorate. And
we might explore the possibility of some table game nights, social fellowship activities. Could even involve folk or social dancing in the gymnasium.
Okay.
On that sign, going back to the sign, we talked about it a couple of years ago about upgrading that where the original sign is,
Right.
putting in an electronic sign.
Right.
That pastor could change from his office. It's expensive, but I mean, it's probably down the list from a lot of the technology upgrades. But
Right. But it is something, we can probably keep the wooden sign for a few more years, but
Right.
it is something we should put kind of on our radar.
Well, yeah, we do have kind of our old wish list that we're working on. One of the items was awnings for, especially, particularly, I think this entrance here, just because This is our kind of front door, main door to our worship area, and it is so nondescript. It's easy to miss. So kind of sprucing up some of our entrances, at least that one, possibly the north entrance with awnings.
Okay. Any ideas for outside of the church? We'll be going back to the soup kitchen.
I have I'm in the very infant stages of planning a one-day women's workshop that would be kind of in with the visual faith ministry that have a component, because it was very well regarded last year. So we want to do again. We might actually talk about doing a full visual faith ministry workshop again. But I'm working on a single-day women's workshop with the theme of biblical womanhood. Which would certainly be, it's nothing that is particular to the people inside the congregation. I mean, anybody can invite anybody else, and so that would be a reach out kind of thing.
Speaking of workshops, what about like a marriage workshop? Not necessarily for young, I mean, you know, Dana, but, no. Yeah, but she was talking more about young people. Okay, never mind.
She
then.
doesn't want to discriminate, so.
Yeah, okay, old and young people.
So maybe like a marriage tune-up workshop? Okay. 100,000-mile maintenance kind of thing? All right.
We have found Vacation Bible School to be a little bit of an issue given the number of children. What about some kind of one-day family Bible camp that would include anybody? A family includes anyone who wants to come.
Ready? Okay. I went to a church once that had a mentorship program, which was really cool. This was when I was a college student, and if you were a college student, they matched you up with like someone who was like in their mid-20s and out of college, and if you were in your 20s and out of college, they matched you up with someone in your 40s. It was totally voluntary, but it was actually nice. Like, I learned from the person a little bit older. So we could think about something like that too. Just intergenerational connections, I think, are
right.
One of the nice things about church, and sometimes it's a thing that sort of facilitates that.
Right.
It would take the work of like organizing it and matching people up and thinking about what people want and stuff, but it could be cool.
Okay. We're getting a lot of ideas. Any others?
We have a something that came in on text. Question: is there a way we could have a booth at MSU football tailgating? Something like rent out lawn games or something.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and put it on the list. It would require checking into whether or not those things are accepted.
I just got an email that said I know that they're planning on doing football games are back in attendance and all that, but I have no idea what the process is for
right.
anything else.
Right. Any other ideas? No? Erin has another one? Okay.
In the past, we used to do a blessing of the pets, like activity. I would do that again, but I don't know. I think they're fun.
Okay. Anything else? Mary. Just leave the microphone there with Mary.
Mary's going to get her. We need money for a microphone for Mary.
So along the same lines as having a mentor, a church that my mother went to, they had a grandparents for the young children, that they would be assigned an older person, and that older person would have these kids on their prayer list. So they would get to know this young person and would have them on their prayer list, so someone could be assigned. It was just another idea. And who wouldn't want their kid to be prayed for every day? You know, if each child had a, anyway, that's an organizational thing too.
Just until you think of something else. No, this is great. This is what we want. We want these ideas coming. Anything else? See?
Now you're just playing with me.
Another thing, which I don't know if this needs to be an organized activity, but if the people that are sick and in the hospital, maybe there could be someone assigned to maybe contacting people, and we could get cards out. Of course, you kind of do that, don't you, Linda? Okay,
Yeah.
never mind.
That's
Erase
actually
that.
a Women of Ascension
I knew that.
function, so yeah. Patrick has something?
This church is absolutely blessed with some of the greatest artwork in the area. And I think that we should look at a committee or a group that basically evaluates the art that we have, moves it around maybe a little bit, but then looks at things like that piece on the wall over there was above the altar for our wedding back in '72, but people have walked by it and touched it enough that it's really, really dirty at the bottom quarter of it.
Yeah, that
And
actually has been brought up, that needs to be cleaned.
We could have things cleaned, frames fixed, and that kind of thing.
Just as a question here, do we need to have our art collection appraised for insurance purposes? Recently? No. How long ago? Maybe needs to be updated. Right. But things have changed, so we probably ought to just look at it again.
I'm just, so that this is in writing again, it's kind of been brought up before. While we're talking about art, the stand for that statue is not stable. And I was just saying we have a lot of children on our altar fairly regularly, so getting that fixed so that it doesn't tip on anybody needs to happen.
I think Paul was working on that. Yeah. Right. Anything artistic takes time. Mary mentioned Sunday school. We are going to need to add another class this fall. We have a whole bunch of 3-year-olds.
Okay, the question is, are we doing a younger Sunday school now? Honestly, I think we will probably, since, what is it, May? Good Lord. Okay, so we'll probably take the summer to kind of flesh all that out because like right now in my Wednesday night Bible study class, my Wednesday night was basically to replace Sunday morning. And now that we're getting back together now more and things are kind of returning and the whole mask thing, is that we're probably going to be able to start having Sunday school, like on Sunday before worship. So part of that will be kind of exploring how we're going to bring things back. And yeah, we definitely need to have, because before all this, we had an awesome Sunday morning, the little toddlers with Alex. It was Friends of Jesus. That was the name of it. Which was awesome. Of course, those toddlers are now a couple of years old. Well, that would totally, we've got a whole new crop. So, Friends with Jesus is definitely going to, I hope I'm okay speaking for you, Alex, but we'd love to continue Friends of Jesus. Okay, good. And then, we'll have classes. We'll just have to figure out what those classes are, like if we need to combine certain ages or whatever. But yeah, I imagine this summer will be the next couple months really planning that out so that we can kick something off and do it well. Oh, and we have a text. All right. Oh, this is from Melody Glick. Hi, Melody. I agree with Patrick about art and add a routine of moving art around in the church. Yes. The last time I moved some art around was probably a year and a half ago.
Right. All right. Any other suggestions, or should we get ready to move on? I don't want to cut anybody's ideas off. If you have an idea later, talk to the MMD. Do you have a? No? Okay. All right, so we will take this list and look at it, and there will be a plan coming soon. At this point, I want to have some of the members of the mission and ministry directors just give you a brief rundown of what their job is, and probably, they may add their impressions of whether it's good, bad, indifferent, want somebody else to do it, whatever. Anyway, I'm going to start with Fran. She's our trustee. You don't want to be first, Fran? Okay. Oh, she's not gonna come up. That's okay. That's fine.
Everyone can see. The mic is, it'll pick you up just fine.
As the trustee of the MMD, my responsibility is to sign a couple documents a year that Jim Phillips provides me. So it may be something like the extending the church extension fund loan. Wow, that's bright. And then attending the MMD meetings that we have in person or through Zoom. I've enjoyed my time on the board because you get to see, what's going on kind of behind the scenes. My position is up this year because it's an annual position. So anyone that's interested, it really is, I've enjoyed my time, and I think that it's just a way to know, what's going on in the church. Thank you.
This is a plea. I don't want to do my job anymore. And actually, I won't be. I'm transitioning into a new job. As most of you hopefully still remember, I am finally completed with all of my deacon classes. So I am done. Thank you, sir. I will be commencing in a couple of weeks with the program, and then we will do an installation at some point here. And while it's not explicitly written in the bylaws, and there's a whole lot definitely not explicitly written in the bylaws, for me to continue as deacon and treasurer doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So we will be looking for a new treasurer from within the congregation, and all of you are suddenly going, no. But we're changing things up a little bit. I, as part of my deacon responsibilities, am going to add to it a kind of bookkeeper, accountant role, if you will. So I will continue doing the books. I will continue preparing the financial reports. What I need is a treasurer who is going to be the representative of the congregation, is going to come in, will kind of be my boss. I can provide reports, we can talk through things, but they will be the official representative on the MMD. They will also have the responsibility for signing checks. I will no longer have that responsibility, but probably should never have it while I was doing the books anyway. So what we're doing is we're kind of creating a little bit of a separation of duties, but as opposed to the old style, which was the person came in, they were treasurer, and we looked at them and said, Godspeed and good luck, here's everything you need to do. we're not doing that this time. This time I will still continue to do the accounting and stand in the back. I'm going to take on the duties of the financial secretary. We're going to give Ellen her well-deserved break here because, as you know, whenever anybody gets in any financial role in the church, they are roles for life. You're never allowed to step away from them, but we're going to allow her to step away. So I'll work with the counters, I will work on the financial reporting, but we do need somebody to be treasurer. So I will put that plea out there. It's going to be a much easier job than it has ever been in the past. It's not going to be overwhelming. I'm, more than willing to meet at any time. I will supply. I've been good about doing the financial statements, even though I'm not on any sort of schedule like I used to be. I actually do them every month on a fairly regular basis. So the MMD has gotten all of their reports. I'm trying to think. It's an elected position. You authorize the disbursement of funds. Maintain a monthly record of receipts and disbursements. These are the requirements within the bylaws. So you would maintain the monthly receipts and disbursements, which means you would look at me and say, hey, Jim, do you have the report ready? It's a little bit different. Sure that an annual audit is performed. Well, that's a little bit of a pipe dream for a long time, but that's okay. Reports are available for everybody. You would be a trustee of the congregation. And my favorite one, if the treasurer is unable to perform the duties of the office, a special meeting of the voters' assembly shall be called to elect a new treasurer. So let's try to have that special meeting here soon so that somebody can take over these duties, and I will be more than happy to work with them as we transition into it. Any questions on that? Man. I don't know that I would call it figurehead. I mean, I work with people in terms of, you can think about the financial situation of the church. You can think about the messaging. So much of what I do tends to be messaging. When I get the reports ready, how am I going to tell you what's there? I would not call it a figurehead position, no, but there may be people who are not quite as adept or ready to go, and I might have to explain more of what's going on. Sure. Could be. And I mean, let's not forget, we had times in the past where we had a math teacher, God bless her, take over the treasurer position, and, she had sort of a hard time getting the books up to speed and things. So, I mean, it's kind of a tough role to fill. It can be. Yeah, sure. No, you don't have to know QuickBooks. I don't imagine the treasurer would really interact with QuickBooks very often, the same way my old CFO never used our accounting software when I was working all the time. My job was to create the reports for them and put it in their place. I mean, the treasurer can certainly, if they want to see, I would certainly give them access to take a look at it, but I don't know that I would necessarily want them to have any kind of read-write fiddling. Well, are you talking to the financial secretary? Like what we get in deposits, that would be part of what I would take on as part of my responsibility. So what's in the software versus what's on there. That's the financial secretary role. Yep. Okay. Anybody have any other questions for my wife? All good? Oh, good.
Okay, so I'm a member at large for the MMD, and you don't have to sign anything or ever think about math. So it's the easy job. It's pretty simple. You're basically just acting as a voice for the congregation and putting in your perspective, and then you vote on any propositions that get put up by the congregation or outside parties that want to use the church or anything. And if my disorganized, messy self can do it, literally anyone can do it. And it's an annual role. That's really it, to be honest. Oh, wait, you have a question?
How often are you guys meeting is the question.
So regularly, like once a month. Before the festival, a little bit more. It's also just a lot of like emailing, to be honest. We just have like a chain of emails of like, this person has asked this, what do you guys think? So it's not a huge time commitment. Yeah, we Zoomed most of the pandemic. But I think like the longest meeting we've had is like an hour and a half. They're not very long. So it's not a huge time commitment. It's mostly emailing.
As the lead elder and the elder on the board of with the MMD, our job is to serve communion and the worship service and make sure that your worship services are to your liking and hear input from the congregation on that type of thing. And we need one more elder. So there's 3 of us right now. We could use one more to help. And as more people start coming, we might go back to having an assistant serve communion as well, communion assistants. So right now, we have 3. If someone would be interested, we could use 4. Thank you.
Patrick, do you have any meetings on a regular basis?
We used to have monthly meetings, but now we pretty much just put the older schedule up.
Okay.
Discuss anything
Through email, okay. So in other words, they're meeting as needed, as opposed to it being a monthly commitment. And once again, the elders' positions are 1 year. All of the elected positions are a 1-year commitment. And we won't need a special election for the treasurer because the elections will be coming up in our June voters meeting. So at this point, I think that concludes our meeting. Pastor is going to, he has a hymn for us and a closing prayer. Are there any questions before we get to that? Any comments? I hope we've tied things together and given you an idea. This is not how we really envisioned a mission and ministry festival, but given our restraints with the virus, I'm glad we could be here. And I hope we've given you an idea that we haven't just been stagnant for a year. We've actually been growing, and that hopefully, prayerfully, we will continue to grow both in our outreach through technology and here in person. All right, Pastor?
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, just by virtue of closing up, I was talking to John and Linda right before this, and we didn't know what to expect, didn't know how many people to expect, how many people would be online. And that is certainly definitely part of the difficulty with planning things in this environment that we are now, because there's so many different people with, different levels of comfort with being out and doing things, masks, no masks, this, that, the other. A lot of people are, now that we can do virtual things, well, they prefer that, Social distancing has been awesome for introverts. You don't have to deal with anybody. It's fantastic. It's requiring us to rethink a lot of things and to evaluate how we do things. So that's why, a lot of the things we brought up today were things that we actually were already talking about last year. We'll tweak those things. We'll make them work. And just by sort of anecdotal kind of stuff is like these morning prayer videos that I started a year ago. And seriously, we didn't have anything live streaming for a while until into the pandemic. But when it hit, we had 3 videos up on YouTube. We had a little video of me welcoming people or inviting people to our Maundy Thursday service of 2019. It was like a little 2-minute video. And then we had two services, I think, that we right before the pandemic, we actually set up the camcorder, and people were still here, and we were still meeting together, and we had 2 services that we pre-recorded and just posted online, and we had no setup other than a camera. Those were our 3 videos. So now it's 516. We've been pumping out, more than one per day, and the fun thing is that we're reaching people across the state. I just had a conversation online with Jim Goodhart's relatives. They watch all of our stuff up north. So people across the state are tuning in. I've got family in California who are tuning in every Wednesday night. The very first thing I say in my Bible study is, "Hi, Mom," because she's logging in. We've got people in Vietnam. We're actually doing a virtual baptism with Pastor Martin's son and grandson. We're doing that Monday. Never done that before, but we're making it happen. So we're reaching Ascension Lutheran, reaching out to Vietnam. I've got some following in the Philippines apparently through my morning prayer videos, which is, I don't know how. It's awesome. I love it. So there are a lot of incredible ways that since the pandemic started, we have been reaching out. People we never imagined would be touched by what we preach, teach, and confess here. And so it's really incredible. And what we'll be talking about tomorrow, being Pentecost Sunday, is the Coptic Church, the congregation who worships here. I've been kind of looking at ways that we can help support them more, and realizing that for the most part, I think everybody here has been around for a while, and you probably were at least aware that the Coptic congregation was here, right? But the people who have been joining the church, who've been coming, they have no idea. I've talked to people who didn't even realize we had a gym on the other side of the building, because since the pandemic, that whole side of the church has basically been shut down. We've had the doors locked. It's always been just right here. So there's a lot of fun ways that we're reaching out to people, and even in supporting another Christian congregation in our midst, and sharing our space with them, and how can we actually help them reach their people. So it's not just us doing something for Ascension, it's us doing things for people and reaching out. So, off my soapbox. All right. As you leave, we have, because it wouldn't be a festival without little goodie bags. So as you leave, they're on the table there. Please pick one up. You've got a devotion booklet that I think is good. So you've got that. We've got a Stephen Ministry insert in case you know of anybody or you yourself would like to talk to a Stephen minister. The new Portals of Prayer. We've got a fun little Ascension magnet, because you've got to have a magnet, right? It was either that or a keychain. So this is a fun little Ascension magnet that kind of fits in with our theme for the day. We've got a little something else. And then, of course, because it's the Mission and Ministry Festival, M&M. Huh? Come on. It deserves a little bit more than that. Mission and Ministry. And I'm sure you can work something in with the kisses, but I don't want to go there. All right. Any other thoughts? Oh, yes, and we have lunch too. There's lunch provided. How are we doing that? It's in the kitchen. We'll figure that out offline. So, all right. Well, please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for all the wonderful, wonderful things that you do for us, fundamentally and ultimately through the gift of your Son, Jesus Christ, who has made us one people through his blood. And we thank you so much that you've provided these opportunities to reach out to the people of this congregation who haven't been able to be here, reaching out to people beyond this congregation in this city, in this state, in this country, and in this world. Lord, you opened so many doors to us this last year, and we are so thankful that we have the opportunity now to pick and choose which of these doors we will join together to walk through and spread your message. So it is a wonderful day that you've given us, and we know that this is the day of salvation. This is the day you have appointed for us. This is the day that you have made. So we are going to be joyful and be glad in it. And we now close this by praying the prayer that you taught us. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. All right. Well, I believe we... What hymn number was it again? I didn't write it down. 924. We will close our first Mission and Ministry Festival with hymn number 924, Lord, Dismiss Us with Your Blessing. Again, thank you very much, and the lunch is provided here on the table. So we got lunch, we got goodies, we got donuts, we got, I don't know, we got all sorts of stuff. So thank you for coming and some fellowship.